Running a hotel wasn't just a job for me. It was my life. I'm Emma, and this hotel was my world until he walked in. You couldn't miss him. A young man in a suit that screamed wealth, his eyes glued to an expensive phone. He checked in with a smile that could knock you off your feet. "Good evening, I'm Ryan," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "I'm here for a couple of nights. Anything interesting happening around here?" I found myself smiling back, a little taken by his charm. "Well, Ryan, the city's full of surprises. Depends on what you're looking for," I replied, handing him his key. Our chat was short, but it sparked something. Maybe it was his curiosity, or the way he seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. He didn't stay long, but when he checked out, he left a note. "Enjoyed our talk. Care to continue it over dinner?" It read. I hesitated, not used to mixing work with my personal life, but something about him intrigued me. We met at a local restaurant, a cozy spot where the noise of chatter and clinking glasses made it feel like we were in our own little world. "You really have this place running smoothly, don't you, Emma?" he said with a smile as we sat down. I laughed, feeling surprisingly comfortable. "Guess you could say I've had some practice." Dinner passed quickly as we talked about everything and nothing. He seemed like an open book, sharing stories of his travels and investments. When the conversation turned to me, I found myself opening up more than usual. I told him about losing my parents, about how it's just been me and Rachel against the world since I was 23. "That's a lot to carry, Emma. You must be incredibly strong," he said, his eyes showing a mix of admiration and something I couldn't quite figure out. I shrugged it off, saying, "We all play the hand we're dealt, right? Rachel has been my priority. Our parents left us a little something, and I've been careful with it, growing it bit by bit." He nodded, looking thoughtful. "That's impressive. You've got a good head on your shoulders." As the night went on, I realized I hadn't laughed this much in a long time. But when I tried to learn more about him, about his family, he skillfully changed the subject. "My folks and I don't see eye to eye. Let's just say they have their ideas about life, and I have mine," he said, a shadow crossing his face. I didn't push for more details. We all have our stories and our scars. As the evening came to an end, I realized I didn't want it to. There was something about Ryan that made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. Life with Ryan felt like a whirlwind, with every day bringing something new. Each moment together was filled with laughter and dreams about the future. He had a way of making the ordinary feel special, turning simple dinners into unforgettable nights. "Ryan, I still can't believe how fast everything is happening," I said one evening as we sat in our favorite little cafe, the one with dim lights and cozy corners. He reached across the table and took my hand. "Emma, when something feels right, why wait? I've never been so sure of anything in my life," he said, looking at me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "I know," I replied, "but everything is moving so quickly. It's a lot to take in." He gently squeezed my hand. "I understand, but trust me, Emma, I'm here for the long haul. I want to build a life with you, a future. And I want to start by making our wedding day the most memorable day of our lives." The way he talked about our wedding, with so much passion and certainty, made it hard not to get swept up in his excitement. He described a day so beautiful and lavish it took my breath away. "Imagine it, Emma, a ceremony no one will forget, a celebration of our love. It's going to be perfect," he said, his voice full of excitement. "And the honeymoon?" I asked, a bit curious and nervous. "You mentioned something about the most expensive hotel in the world?" His smile grew wider. "Yes, it's all part of the plan. But I need you to trust me. Let's take this leap together, your savings for the wedding, my funds for the honeymoon, and our future home. We'll make this a reality." I hesitated, the practical side of me wanting to be cautious. But when I looked into his eyes, full of love and promise, I found myself nodding. Okay, Ryan, let's do it. Let's make this wedding a day to remember. As the weeks flew by, planning the wedding took over our lives. Ryan was a man of action, handling every detail to ensure our day would be nothing short of spectacular. Watching him so full of energy and determination, I couldn't help but fall even deeper in love. Ryan, you're amazing. The way you're handling everything, I don't even know how to thank you, I said, feeling overwhelmed by it all. One evening, as we went over the guest list and the lavish menu Ryan had planned, I voiced my thoughts. He pulled me close, wrapping his arms around me. Emma, seeing you happy is all the thanks I need. This wedding is just the beginning. Our life together will be even more beautiful. But in the midst of all the excitement, doubt sometimes crept in, whispering questions late at night. Was I moving too fast? Was I getting carried away by the romance? Each time those thoughts surfaced, Ryan's reassurances were there to calm me. His words and promises were like an anchor, keeping me steady in the storm of uncertainty. Wedding preparations filled my days, but in the whirlwind of cake tastings and choosing flowers, I knew I needed Rachel, my sister and confidant, by my side. Since our parents passed, it had always been us against the world, and her opinion meant everything to me, especially now. I called her, hoping she could take a break from her job at the cafe. Hey Rachel, think you can ditch the aprons and coffee smells for some tulle and satin today? I joked, my voice full of hope. Rachel's laughter came through the phone, light and familiar. For you, sis, I'll trade coffee stains for bridal trains any day. Give me an hour to finish up here, and I'm all yours. The bridal shop was a wonderland of white and ivory, with dresses cascading like waterfalls of lace and silk. As I tried on gowns, Rachel's presence was a calming force in the storm of satin and sequins. That one, Emma, it's like it was made for you, Rachel said, her eyes lighting up as I stepped out of the dressing room in a gown that felt just right. I looked at my reflection, the dress hugging every curve and flowing to the floor in soft fabric. You think? I feel, I don't know, like a real bride, I admitted, a smile spreading across my face. Rachel's grin matched mine, but for a brief moment, I noticed a shadow pass over her face, quick and troubling. Before I could ask, she was up and pulling a dress off the rack. Mind if I give this one a try? Just for fun, Rachel said, holding up a stunning gown that shimmered with every movement. I laughed, surprised and delighted. Planning on eloping, are you? Or is there a mystery man you've been hiding from me? Rachel's laugh, usually so carefree, had a hint of something I couldn't quite place. I couldn't quite understand it. Oh, Emma, you know me, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. But a girl can dream, right? Rachel joked, though her eyes quickly darted away, hiding something. The day continued with a mix of laughter and whispers of silk, but Rachel's mood seemed to change suddenly. Her usual bubbly self was replaced by moments of distraction. Everything okay, Rachel? You seem a bit off today, I asked gently, worried by her behavior. She quickly brushed it off, waving her hand as if to erase my concerns. It's nothing, really just the chaos at the cafe. You know how it gets, Rachel assured me, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. As we left the bridal shop, the weight of whatever she was hiding seemed to hang between us, creating a tension we couldn't quite navigate. I wanted to believe it was just pre-wedding stress or maybe a problem with a difficult customer, but deep down, I felt it was something more. That night, as I lay in bed, the excitement of finding the perfect dress was overshadowed by my worry about Rachel's behavior. She had always been an open book to me, but now it felt like there were pages I couldn't read, words hidden from view. As the wedding day approached, the joy I should have felt was mixed with a growing sense of unease. Rachel and I had always faced everything together, but now it felt like there was a gap between us, filled with secrets and unanswered questions. Little did I know, the answers to those questions were about to turn my world upside down. It seemed like an ordinary day, or so I thought, until Ryan left his phone buzzing and forgotten on the kitchen counter. As I tidied up the apartment, the constant notifications nagged at me, a persistent reminder that something was off. The phone wasn't even locked, which surprised me, but that was nothing compared to the shock I felt when I opened it. The messages between Ryan and Rachel hit me like a punch to the gut. Each word was a betrayal, tearing through my heart. They weren't just having an affair, they were planning to push me aside like I meant nothing, like all the years of sisterhood with Rachel were worth less than dirt to them. I read Rachel's message over and over, the one where she confessed she was pregnant with Ryan's child. The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. Can't believe we pulled this off. She's such a fool, falling for every lie. And now, with the baby, we can finally be together, just as we planned. The world around me seemed to spin, a whirlwind of lies and betrayal. Ryan's reply was just as cruel, declaring his love for Rachel and his excitement to see me humiliated, pushed out of my own wedding. She's just a naive cash cow. Can't wait to get rid of her and start our real life together. This wedding will be perfect, thanks to her money, he wrote. I sat there, the phone heavy in my hand, a storm of emotions raging inside me: betrayal, anger, disbelief. But above all, a cold determination started to take root. They thought they could use me and throw me away like I didn't matter. But they were wrong. I would show them the price of underestimating Emma Anderson. When Ryan came back, his carefree attitude felt like a slap in the face. Hey, babe, did I miss any important calls? He asked casually, picking up his phone. I forced a smile, my insides churning with anger. Nope, just the usual stuff. Busy day, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. He flashed that charming smile, the one I now knew was just a mask. As always, but nothing's more important than coming back to you, he said, leaning in for a kiss. I had to force myself not to pull away. From that moment on, I played the role of the clueless fiancé perfectly. I smiled, nodded, and went along with all the wedding plans. But behind the scenes, I was plotting my revenge on the four people who had betrayed me so deeply. Each day was a test of my will, a balancing act between the part one had to play and the burning fury inside me. But I wouldn't let them see me break. I would wait for the right moment, and then they would learn the true cost of their betrayal. As I lay in bed each night, the image of Ryan and Rachel's deceitful faces was etched into my mind. I made a silent vow they would pay for what they had done, and their twisted game would be their downfall. I was no longer just the betrayed fiancé. I was the one planning their downfall. My revenge would be careful, detailed, and oh so satisfying. The days leading up to the wedding felt unreal. On the surface, everything was perfect: the flowers, the guest list, the dress, but underneath, a storm of anger and betrayal was building inside me. Ryan was his usual self, all smiles and affection, completely unaware of the disaster headed his way. Emma, everything's coming together so beautifully. This wedding is going to be the talk of the town, he said one evening as we reviewed the final details. I nodded, my smile polished and practiced. Yes, it's going to be a day to remember, I replied, with a meaning he couldn't possibly understand. Facing Rachel was harder. The sister I had once loved and protected was now a stranger to me, her every word and action a reminder of her betrayal. But I kept my mask on, pretending to be the loving sister who knew nothing of the knife she had put in my back. Emma, you're handling everything so well. I don't know how you do it, Rachel said one day as we finalized the seating arrangements. I looked at her, the sister I thought I knew, and forced a laugh. Oh, Rachel, You know me, I've always had a knack for organizing chaos, I said, the irony not lost on me. As the wedding day approached, the tension became almost unbearable, like walking a tightrope with careful precision. Ryan's phone was now always close to him, his conversations hushed and hurried, but it didn't matter, I already knew enough. The morning of the wedding was clear and bright, a perfect day for a beautiful disaster. As I got ready, the reflection in the mirror showed a serene and composed bride, but behind the veil and makeup was a woman on a mission, no longer a pawn in someone else's game. Rachel's running late, huh? Ryan remarked casually as he adjusted his tie. I met his gaze in the mirror, my eyes revealing nothing. Yes, but she'll be here. She wouldn't miss it for the world, I replied, the double meaning clear in my voice. He nodded, clueless to the tension beneath the surface. Well, she's always been a bit unpredictable, but today is about us, Emma. Our new beginning. I turned to face him, my smile a masterpiece of calm. Yes, Ryan. A new beginning indeed, I said, steeling myself for what was about to happen. As I walked down the aisle, the eyes of friends and family were on me, unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. I knew this was at the calm before the storm was over, and the moment of truth had arrived. The vows were ready, the guests were watching, and everything was set. It was time for the truth to come crashing down, and for the real show to begin. Standing next to Ryan in front of the priest, my heart was a mix of hope and fear. The vows, a promise of forever, were about to be shattered in the most brutal way. The guests, unaware of the storm brewing, watched us with smiles and teary eyes. But then, something unimaginable happened. Rachel, dressed in a bridal gown just like mine, stormed down the aisle. Her eyes met mine, not with sisterly love, but with a cold determination that sent a chill through me. Move aside, Emma. I'm the one who deserves to be here. Ryan loves me, and the child I'm carrying is his, Rachel declared, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. The room erupted into whispers and gasps as the guests looked at each other in confusion and disbelief. Ryan, instead of showing shock or regret, let out a hearty laugh, his true nature showing through his polished facade. Well said, Rachel. Emma, you've been a good host, but this is where your part ends. Why don't you join the audience? This is Rachel's moment now, Ryan said, his words dripping with mockery and contempt. The audacity of their betrayal, so public and so cruel, sent a shockwave through the crowd. But as the reality of the situation sank in, my reaction surprised everyone, including myself. I looked at Ryan, then at Rachel, and smiled. Of course, why not? I wouldn't want to miss the show after all I did pay for it, I said, my voice calm, hiding the storm inside me. Rachel and Ryan exchanged confused glances, clearly not expecting such a composed response. The guests were baffled too, their eyes darting between us, trying to make sense of the surreal scene unfolding before them. As Emma fully took a seat among the guests, my head held high, the whispers grew louder. What's she up to? Is she really going to let this happen? The questions buzzed around the room like a swarm of bees, but I remained serene, a statue amidst the chaos. Ryan and Rachel, now standing together at the altar, looked unsettled. My calm demeanor had thrown them off. Their plan to humiliate and discard me wasn't going as they had expected. What's your game, Emma? Why are you so calm? Ryan asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and concern. I met his gaze, my smile never wavering. No game, Ryan. Just enjoying the fruits of my labor. Please go ahead. I'm eager to see how this plays out, I replied, my words as sharp as a knife hidden in velvet. The ceremony continued, but the atmosphere had changed. The guests watched with a mix of shock and anticipation, unsure if they were witnessing a wedding or the start of something dramatic. As Rachel and Ryan exchanged vows, the words felt empty, a mockery of the sacred promises they were supposed to be. Sitting there, surrounded by friends and family who were struggling to understand what was happening, I knew this was just the beginning. The real show was yet to come, and Rachel and Ryan, in their arrogance and deceit, had unknowingly set themselves up for their own downfall. As the priest asked if anyone objected, the doors suddenly burst open. A woman, older and more worn than Ryan, stormed in, her eyes blazing with anger. "Stop this wedding right now," she demanded, her voice cutting through the silence like a knife. Ryan's face turned pale, his eyes wide with shock. "Megan, what are you doing here?" he stammered, the mask of the perfect groom slipping away. Megan, Ryan's legal wife, as I had discovered, marched up to the altar. "I'm here to stop you from making an even bigger fool of yourself and these people. Emma, you deserve to know the truth," she said, turning to me with a sympathetic look. The guests murmured among themselves, the scandal unfolding before them more gripping than any soap opera. Rachel clutched her stomach, her face a mix of shock and fear. Megan continued, her voice strong and clear. "Ryan is a liar and a cheat. He's drowning in debt, his investments failed, and he's been using all of you to dig himself out. And Rachel, you poor girl, you're just another pawn in his game." The room erupted into chaos, the guests rising from their seats, whispers growing louder. Ryan tried to speak, but his words were lost in the uproar. I stood up, my heart pounding, but my voice steady. "There's more," I announced, silencing the room. "I hired a private detective after I found out about Ryan and Rachel's affair. Not only is Ryan already married and drowning in debt, but he's also been hiding a child he's never supported." Rachel's face crumpled as the reality of her situation hit her. "Ryan, is this true? Tell me she's lying," she pleaded, her voice breaking. Ryan, now pale and defeated, had no words. His lies and deceit were all laid bare for the world to see. But the final blow was yet to come. As the guests processed the revelations, Ryan's parents, two stern and imposing figures, entered the room. I had contacted them, told them everything, and now they were here to confront the son who had brought shame to their family. Ryan's father, a man of few words, spoke with a voice full of disappointment and anger. "Ryan, you are no son of mine. Your actions today and in the past have shown your true character. You are cut off from our family and our fortune." As the room fell into an uneasy silence, I looked at Ryan, Rachel, and the shattered dreams they had tried to build on lies. The pain of betrayal still hurt, but standing there on what was supposed to be my happiest day, I knew this was not the end of my story. In the days that followed, I found myself in court, seeking justice for the damage Ryan had caused. The courtroom felt like a different world, a place where my pain and humiliation were turned into legal terms and paperwork. "Ryan, you not only broke a promise, but you also shattered trust and took advantage of my generosity. You owe me more than an apology, you owe me compensation for turning my life upside down," I said firmly, my voice echoing in the quiet courtroom. The judge's gavel sounded like thunder in the tense silence. "The court finds in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is hereby ordered to pay $75,000 in damages for the distress and financial loss caused," he declared. His words were a balm to my wounded spirit. As I walked out of the courtroom, the burden of the past months felt lighter. Justice had been served, but the journey to healing was just beginning. Ryan's troubles didn't end with me. Megan, his legal wife, driven by hurt and anger, launched her own legal battle, demanding compensation for his infidelity and neglect of their child. The once suave and confident man was now trapped in a web of his own making, his lies and deceit finally catching up to him. Rachel, My sister, the person I had trusted and loved more than anyone, found herself alone and abandoned. Ryan had fled the city, leaving her to face the consequences of their actions. She was pregnant and scared, a far cry from the carefree and happy girl she once was. Emma, I know I don't have the right to ask for your forgiveness, but I'm lost and I don't know what to do. Rachel pleaded one day, her eyes filled with tears. I looked at her, the sister I once would have done anything for. Rachel, you were my family, my blood, but what you did isn't something I can just forget or forgive. You made your choices, and now you have to live with them, just like I'm living with mine. The gap between us wasn't just physical. It was a deep chasm of betrayal and hurt, too wide and too deep to ever cross again. Life went on, but the scars from those painful months remained. I focused on rebuilding my life, finding peace in the simple things. I had loved, lost, trusted, and been betrayed, but through it all, I survived. Looking back on everything that had happened, I realized the most important journey was the one I was taking within myself, a journey of healing, rediscovering my strength, and learning to trust and love again.